Oh my gosh, you all have been blowing up my YouTube channel. I cannot believe it. And the comments you are all making, amazing, so helpful. It's like the opposite of a troll community. Of course, now I'm going to get trolled now that I said that. But you guys are all helping each other out. You're coming up with phenomenal suggestions. And I'm like, so many good suggestions that I'm like, dang, why didn't I think of that in that video? So I literally have probably this video and another one coming up where I'm going to talk about the tips that you guys are recommending for new beginners. And I know that this might be a lot of suggestions. Some of them are real simple suggestions and easy to immediately implement. And others are going to be, nah, I don't need that one, or that one doesn't work for me. And there's good examples of that as well. So I am going to also maybe do a video. I don't do song videos. I don't teach people how to play songs because I'm a copyright holder, I'm a songwriter, composer myself, and so I don't want to get into issues of copyright infringement. That's a problem on YouTube. And so what I will do though probably is do a video where I put a bunch of links in the information section to the artist's YouTube of that song or whatever, so that you can, have a start as far as learning simple songs. Okay, first things first, the most important thing is, what kind of guitar is this? Okay, this guitar is, I'm going to venture this guitar is older than anyone watching. Now, if I'm wrong, I want to hear about it. But this is a 1924 Martin. I'm a 1961 Human. This is a 1924 Martin 028 Koa. It's all Koa. You can see it's very old, it's very beat up, it's got cracks on the top and everything. When I bought this, it was rumored to have been owned by Stephen Stills. However, I don't even know if Stephen would know. And I never pay a premium on a guitar because it may have been owned by somebody. I mean, this is Hollywood, and there are a lot of stories floating around about everything. So I don't know this for a fact. If I ever met him, I don't even know if he would recognize and go, oh yeah, because I've heard he owns like 300 guitars or something crazy like that. Okay, so let's get to some of these tips that some of you have put down in the comments in the first video. I'm going to give you shout outs to Tim Campbell. You suggested, as far as learning a bunch of simple songs, that you go ahead and YouTube Axis of Awesome 4 chords. Go ahead and write that up in the search window and you will find a very funny video of this comedy group, Australian comedy group, doing 1 million songs using the same 4 chords. Now, most of those songs are probably not going to be ones you want to learn because they're going to be mostly early 2000 pop songs. However, the point is, you really only need to know 4 songs to be able to play, or 4 chords to be able to play thousands and thousands of songs. I think their example was an E minor. It was basically a 6-4-1-5 progression, I think. And I have to look, but really, 4 chords, once you have them down, you can be playing a lot of songs. So that was a great suggestion, Mark or Tim, and I think basically the idea is that it just opens your eyes, that it's not that complex, that difficult to just get started. Okay. David LaFerney suggested singing along with yourself, and that is something that's a little bit difficult when you're playing, when you're just starting to play and strumming and singing a song. But what it does do is it really does help with kind of connecting the whole thing together. Okay. Your head and your hands together. When I would be teaching soloists, kids that wanted to learn how to solo, jazz students, things like that, I would often tell them to sing along with what they're playing. So what happens at first when you're doing that is you go, there's a lag, you're singing what you're playing. But eventually the goal is boom, eventually you start creating melodies in your head and you can replicate them on the guitar. That's advanced stuff. And you can do that now if you want, but basically if you can start to sing along with your playing, if you can start to sing some of these songs, it's really going to help connect your head and your hands and your heart all together, and you're going to become one instrument in that regard. Okay, several people, and these are comments I grabbed from like the first couple days, so there's been a lot of comments since I grabbed these few. But a lot of you, Jim Merritt, George Berrill, and Kingstumble all suggested getting a guitar with a wider neck. And that may work for some of you, and actually a narrower neck might work for some of you even better. This guitar has a fairly narrow neck. It's a smaller body guitar, which is nice kind of just for sitting and playing. I really like that, the feel of it. Okay. The guitar I played in the original video is a Gibson folk singer. I think it's a F25. This is a mid-60s. And this has a wider neck. Steel strings. It may have been a nylon guitar, but I'm reaching out to Gibson to find out if it was originally. And it's got a totally different sound than the Martin, obviously. And it's a great strummer, and I really like using it. I use it on a lot of sessions because I like the kind of lo-fi quality of it. But this one has a wider neck, and these you can find on Reverb for about $1,000. They're not horribly expensive for a vintage guitar. And then Alaina Spencer suggested that you maybe pick up a nylon guitar. My first guitar as a kid, when I started at 9, was a 3/4 nylon guitar. So 3/4 guitar is a little bit smaller, and but the neck is a little wider, but the strings are nylon and they're easier to push down. And they're a little easier on your fingers too, so if you're really having a lot of problems with finger pain, you can do that. I would suggest going to a guitar store and maybe picking up a few different guitars and noticing the neck. Okay, notice that the neck is narrow or wide, and play and kind of A/B that process and see which one fits your hand better. You know, I'm definitely not the same weight I was when I got married, and I know my hands are probably a little bit bigger, and so that makes it a little tougher to play some chords. Like A might be a little tougher. Some people have a problem with that. So getting all your fingers in there. Sometimes you can swap out, get rid of the first finger, and use these 3 fingers for A. I've done that before, but basically a classical guitar, you know. Has a softer sound, so it won't sound a lot like a lot of the records you're maybe trying to emulate, but it will be you can still strum on it. Okay, so it can still be a strummer, and that totally works. Okay, another thing, several players suggested that you make sure that you have the guitar set up. A good setup could run anywhere from $80 to $150 depending on where you live and depending on what store you take it to. But basically what they'll do is they'll go through it, they'll adjust the neck so that the action is not too high, because nothing will discourage you more than a guitar with an 1.5 inch action where the strings are a mile off the fretboard. They can set it up, they can make sure it's in tune, they'll put new strings on it. They may have to do some filing or some adjusting and different things. Acoustic guitars can be less, electric guitars can take a little bit more time. But that's one thing you can have done. Another thing you can do, and I'm going to switch back to the Martin, is you could put a capo. If you're having a problem making some of the stretches on some of the chords, you can put a capo at like the 3rd fret, and the frets become smaller, first off. Okay, so as you go up the neck, you've noticed the frets get smaller. But so they're a little closer together. The other thing is the frets now, or the strings now, are at fret height. See, when you have the no capo on, your strings are going to be at the nut height, which is going to be slightly higher than the fret. So when you put a capo on, the strings go lower and it's a little bit easier to push down. You'll notice that. Some guitars have what's called a 0 fret, which is, you would see a guitar with a nut and then a fret in front of it, and the string is actually resting on that fret. Sometimes it's just kind of a marker. I've seen it both ways. But basically that allows you to, not have to work so hard. And what you can do as you get better is you can move that capo down a fret and kind of chart your progress. And just kind of keep going until you don't have the capo anymore. Also, Mark Castelletti, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, he said you can tune it down a half step or a whole step and put the capo at the second. So if you tune it down a whole step, put the capo at the second fret, then it'll be exactly the same key as if it was open. All right? So it's a lot easier to play when you got a capo on it. I use capo a lot. It's one of my favorite tools. And I do it to get out of bad keys. So if a song's in the key of F, I'll capo it and play it in the key of D, for example. That's a whole nother lesson. But that sounds much better than struggling on F chords, and when you capo, you end up with more open strings, which is kind of what I associate with acoustic guitar. When I see an acoustic guitar being played, I want to hear some open strings. I don't know how you say your name, but Gortagnan. He suggested keeping your nails short, and that's on your left hand. That's definitely good advice, because as you're trying to get the good angle, like particularly on the C chord, when you're trying to keep your fingers arched to avoid muting other strings, if you've got long nails, that's going to force your finger down. That's going to force your finger down a little bit, and the pad of your finger might mute the string below it. So having shorter nails is definitely a good tip. And then John Montgomery suggested getting a teacher, and that's kind of why you're here on YouTube, and I think that's a great idea. If you can afford to get a teacher, totally do that. A teacher can help you stay away from the bad habits, and a good teacher will really encourage you and get you playing stuff soon. And you might want to say what you want to learn. Maybe don't, if the teacher wants to teach you how to read music and take you for some basic reading books, that may not be what you want. You may just want to get up running and playing some songs, and a Dylan tune or a Crosby, Stills, Nash tune or something like that. Let them know. Let the teacher know what you want to learn, and then also keep your goals not too high. If you say, I want to learn the entire Ave Musicom record from Eric Johnson, you're probably biting off more than you can chew. However, Sonny's Gadget Reviews suggested try something new, a chord or a scale every day, at least. I add at least every week, and that's true. You can add something new every week to your repertoire. Try to learn a new chord. Okay, I am going to do a video on bar chords. Probably going to do that and post it really soon on tips for how to get those bar chords down, because it's a real struggle, I know, especially for older hands, and it's a struggle for everyone. So don't think you're unique in that regard. Okay. I also know that you can have an electric guitar too. You don't have to play acoustic guitar. Electric guitars are a little bit easier to play. The necks can be narrower. You can set them up with even lighter strings. And Gary Fuller suggested that you keep an electric out so you can practice late at night. And so it's not only practical, but it's also considerate, because he said he doesn't want to wake up his wife with his strumming and banging on the acoustic. So he plays his electric when late at night. And that's definitely true. I can testify to that's what I tend to do. Late at night, I definitely am going to be more likely to do my practicing and my playing on an electric guitar. So I'm going to stop there, because I still have more to go. And I'm going to do another video of that. And I don't want this video to get too long, because you won't get to the end of it and you won't hear all the tips. So God bless you. I'll talk to you soon. We're going to do another one of these. I'm going to do a video on easy songs, and then I'm also going to do a video on bar chords, and then I'm going to start doing some videos again. I've got old videos, if you look them up. I had long hair. Someone once said I looked like Kathy Bates, which was the funniest comment I've ever had. But I'm going to talk about strumming a little bit. I think strumming is a great thing to struggle. You may struggle with the left hand, you may struggle with the right hand. A lot of times you're struggling with both. But we're going to talk about time and all that. So that's coming soon, and God bless you guys so much. Thank you so much for watching. This is amazing to see this whole thing blow up, and I'm glad you're out there playing the guitar. It's great therapy. It's just great therapy, and it's a lot of fun, and I'm very blessed to get to be able to sit in front of this camera and talk to you all, and I'm also blessed to get to do this for a living. So take care.